Hello, everyone. I see people trickling in right now. Welcome, good morning, good evening, wherever you are based out of. Welcome to the second day of The Road to Mastery. I'm your host, David Lee Kim, co-founder of Omniscient Digital. We're hosting a bunch of really smart people this week, including Talia, who you see on camera here. We're going to be talking about content and conversion rate optimization, and just in general, how to convert more people with content. So while you're here, I'm going to give a quick rundown of today. If you want to leave a message in the chat, please introduce yourselves with your first name, where you're based out of, and one book that has really influenced your life. I'll give mine. I'm David, based out of Boston, Massachusetts. One book that has really influenced my life. It's hard to choose one, but Meditations by Marcus Aurelius got me thinking about my mortality and going down that path and what that means. So we'd love to hear any of your recommendations. So for today, a quick rundown. We have our first session with Talia here. She is the founder and chief optimizer of GetUplift, talking about how to use emotion to create experiences people will convert to. Following her, we'll have some musical entertainment. So take a break from work, stick around for that as well. And then afterward, we'll have Chanel Mullen from Shopify, who's going to be teaching us about how to run experiments and build knowledge and extract insights from those experiments. So some quick housekeeping before we hand it over to Talia here. We will be sending a recording and slides after this talk, and it's going to be about a 35 to 40 minute talk with a Q&A at the end. So please drop all your questions into the chat. We'll get to them at the end. And with that, I'll do a quick intro of Talia, who I think needs no introduction, but we'll do it anyway. Talia created GetUplift because she was tired of seeing brilliant businesses struggle with sluggish results. And after co-founding a successful conversion rate optimization agency and consulting for some really large companies in the world, she was ready to do something about that. So she's been invited to teach CRO on hundreds of stages, such as Google, MozCon, Call to Action Conference, SearchLove, and many more. She was recently listed as one of the most influential experts in conversion optimization. So you are about to learn from the real deal here. So Talia, over to you.
Thank you very much. Super excited to meet everyone and to get all your questions at the end. I will now share my slides. Okay. Power of emotion. How do we create websites people want to actually convert to? And this is just websites, landing pages, emails, entire funnels. So whenever I work with students or clients, the first thing I ask people is, why do people buy from you? What do you think is the real reason behind people's purchase or people's sign up? If they're starting a free trial, if they're buying a product from you, if they're hiring you to do a service for them, why do you think they do that? And most often than not, people always mention very specific things that are to do with their solution. So that could be features or pricing or technology or the way they run the business. It's very, very focused on the product that they're selling. And because people think this is why people buy, we get to see these kind of landing pages that are focused on that. A better way to build modern apps at scale, or the #1 cloud accounting software, or the world's best UI component suite. I just love self-proclaimed best, the most, #1 companies. But ultimately, when our prospects come to the website, they're just like, this isn't interesting. I don't find this relevant to me. And that's because we live in a world where we have thousands of competitors. And I'm not just talking about your direct competitors. It's even, a notification in an app or the doorbell ringing, that is a distraction. And ultimately, even your direct competitors, there's always going to be someone that has a better product than you, someone that's going to come along and have a better feature, a better offer, and better pricing. Because it's not about product and it's not about features, and it's definitely not about pricing. And the thing is that the reason we're all creating these kind of boring landing pages and that really don't feel connecting to people is because we get really overly focused on data. We get focused on devices, geographical location, genders, browsers, and we're looking at numbers and we're trying to segment people and we're trying to look for automation tools and machine learning and like everything you can do that is not about the customer. We're looking for ways to categorize and segment people. And basically we have forgotten that behind those screens are people, real people that are trying to solve a problem. And we've somehow convinced ourselves that if we focus enough on behavioral data, that's enough and we'll be great. But if you want to truly identify why people buy from you, the real why, you have to understand how people make decisions. And obviously you want to know why people buy from you, because if you know why they buy from you, you can give that to them and you can get them to buy more. Now, the problem is that most people think that this is how we make decisions. We have a question in mind and we go through this logical, kind of process. Yes, no, okay, yes, I will buy that. We've all been taught that somehow this is how people make decisions. We've convinced ourselves that before anyone buys a product, they go some like elaborate process that makes no sense. When in fact, scientists, psychologists, neuroscientists, and yes, the biggest brands in the world, think Nike, Adidas, Lego, all the big brands, know that this is not how people make decisions. This is. Everything we buy in life is based on emotion. There is an emotional reason behind it. If you want to increase conversions, drive more revenue, and really get that ROI higher, you need to understand that there's an emotion behind every decision that your prospects make. We buy on emotion and then we quickly justify it and rationalize it and explain why it makes sense. We don't think we're emotional. None of us want to think that we're emotional beings, but we are. Our brain is quick, it's intuitive and sharp. And that's why it's super important that as marketers, we really do take the next step and dive into the basics. So what I'm trying to say here is that emotions affect decisions. Now, if emotions affect decisions, we also know that decisions obviously affect conversions, whether someone's going to buy from us or not, and it affects our revenue. So no matter what you're selling, what people really care about isn't the what, it's the why. Now, maybe you've heard all of this before. Maybe you know the theory. Maybe you've watched some videos, you've read some articles, but you're still creating the same kind of landing pages that we saw before, or you're still not sure how to actually use it and how to leverage emotion and kind of connect with your prospects on an emotional level. Well, that's great, because today I'm going to dive into explaining exactly how to do that. And I'm going to give you 3 steps to doing that. So first, I'll tell you about Power Up Toys, which is a brilliant website and company. They sell the most fun product ever. Basically, you take a paper airplane that you create, you attach their device to it, and you can fly it with your app using your phone. Now, believe me, there are people around there that are attaching their device to cabbages, Coca-Cola bottles, and an avocado I saw lately. So people are really like turning it into this amazing thing. However, Power Up Toys was driving a ton of traffic to their website and getting little conversions, not enough sales. They were doing great on Amazon, but they really wanted to increase their website sales for obvious reasons. Now, they were also getting ready to launch a new product. So that meant they wanted to A, get more new visitors to buy their products, and B, they wanted to be able to reach out to previous people who bought their products and invite them to buy the new one, the new generation. Now, I asked them, hey, what have you tried so far that, to increase conversions? So here's what they tried. They tried reducing load time. They tried adding an exit pop-up, changing the color of the call to action button, removing steps in a funnel, and changing the headline. So what they did is what every single, I'm going to say 99.9% of people do. They took their variation, their landing page that says, we're this, blah, 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 here, press here, and they duplicated it and changed one element. And they changed the color of the button from pink to purple. That's just an example. And they were like, yes, this is going to work. And nothing happened. And nothing happens because obviously this isn't going to make any difference. And even if it does increase conversions a little bit, it's not going to scale. So this is not what conversion optimization is about, okay? Conversion optimization isn't about changing elements on the page. It's about solving people's problems. And this directly connects to understanding people's intent, how they make decisions, what is driving them, why they buy from you. So this is where the emotional targeting methodology comes in. So it's a methodology I developed over a decade ago based on identifying your prospects' exact emotional triggers, what is motivating them, why they're buying from you, what their pains are, what their goals are, what they want to feel, and how they feel right now. And using that, leveraging that to increase your conversions. So I talked about what kind of data you don't really want to dig into. And no, I'm going to correct that. It's not that you don't want to dig into. We spoke about behavioral data, geographical location and browsers and devices. They're great, but it can only take you so far. Let's talk about the data that will take you to the next level and what you really need to know about your customers. So these are questions that if you know the answers to them, you will know every single time what copy to write, what design to have, how to create your funnel, and all those questions we usually have when we're staring at a blank screen. So what pain does your customer feel before finding a solution? Meaning, what is the pain that is driving them to your website today? What was going on in their lives that is really driving them? What are their emotional triggers that drive their decision-making process? What are their hesitations and concerns? And finally, how do they want to feel after finding a solution? So if you can answer these questions, you'll know exactly what to write on every single asset and how to design a page and all that. So how do we actually answer these questions, and how do we leverage emotion to increase conversions? So here are the 3 steps. Step number 1 is the basics of everything. It's the most important step. You cannot jump over it. You can't ignore it. You have to do it or nothing else will work. So you have to do this. If you do one thing out of everything that I talk about today, I want you to do this, and that is start with a customer. Meaning you need to conduct meaningful customer research. Now, if you listened to Else yesterday, I'm sure she spoke about the importance of customer research. And today I want to talk to you about surveys, meaningful customer surveys. So there are questions that you can ask, which are like, hey, do you like our website? Or what's your favorite feature? Or why did you come to our website today? Those are okay, but what I'm trying to figure out is their intent, right? I'm trying to understand their emotions. So here are my favorite questions that I like to ask during surveys. What was going on in your life that made you search for this solution? So I'm actually saying, instead of saying, hey, why did you come to our website today? I'm saying, what happened? What was the trigger? When you weren't using this solution, how did you solve this problem? Now, this is a wonderful question because it allows you to understand who your real competitors are, and it allows you to then tackle them. So if you are creating a landing page, you can say, you've tried this, you've tried that, and it doesn't work. Now, a lot of times people think they're going to say, oh, this person's just going to say our competitor. But sometimes they're like, I didn't solve it. Or it's, I used a spreadsheet. There's all sorts of different things you don't know, and this can empower you. If you could no longer use this solution, what would you miss the most? This is actually a question that I took, that I learned from Else and Carl at AG Consult. It is incredible. They told me about it years ago, and I think it's just brilliant. The idea is we're always trying to figure out what is our unique selling proposition, but you can't actually say to someone, so why did you buy us? What do you think is our value? Because they're just going to say, well, we like this feature, or we like the pricing, or, you were nice. But if you say to them, from tomorrow, you won't be able to use my service, my solution, what is the one thing you'd miss the most? That is going to give you the real value, the actual thing that people admire about you and what you should be flaunting as this is the results you're going to get. And lastly, what's the number one thing you'd mention to a friend if you wanted to convince them to give our company a try? So you're gathering testimonials and you're hearing it from their words. How do they describe you? So these are just amazing questions. I invite you to ask them. Reach out to your customers via email. You can use wonderful different services like Typeform or SurveyMonkey to actually send these surveys out and get answers. Now, the second part of running meaningful research is also interviewing your customers. And it's crucial to do this part. And what I do is I look at the surveys, I look at the responses, and then I say, okay, who's interesting? And pull out 5 or 6 people that I want to interview, and I get on the phone with them. So in the case of Power Up Toys, what I did is we did the research, we did this customer survey that I told you about, and then we invited people for interviews. And we asked them, what was going on in your life that made you search for a solution like Power Up Toys? Most people said I was searching for a present or something to do with my kid. Now, this is where most interviews or even surveys would end, right? You'd like, okay, cool. And then you go to your homepage and you're like, a present or get something to do with your kid. But that's what everyone's saying. You want to go deeper. So we said to them, why? Why were you searching for a present? Why were you searching for something to do with your kid? And here are the different responses that we got. I love DIYing and tinkering with products to make them work. I was excited to figure out how to make it fly. It took me back to my childhood, flying paper airplanes in the classroom. Our oldest son loves paper airplanes. We had trouble finding the floor for all the planes he made. This is what I was looking for. This is the real reason people buy and why they were looking for Power Up Toys as their result and as their product. But what we found within these results, within these answers, is that there were 2 types of customers. Customer type number 1 is a DIYer, is an inventor, someone that is happy to tinker around with products, loves, something that isn't fully baked and is happy to spend hours working on it. And the second type of the customers are basically hobbyists, people that just want a fully baked product. They want to pull it out of the box and get it to work and within seconds, and they want it working. Now, these are 2 very different types of people, and you need to speak to them differently. I don't know if you guys are in the case, if any of you have the case where you have more than one type of customer that's coming to you for different reasons, but this is a very common issue when you have to speak to different types of customers and you have to do it all in one place. So going back to Power Up Toys, we were looking at their website and it wasn't speaking to any of these people. In fact, what was happening is that anyone who would expect instant gratification, something to pull out of the box, when they get it, they'd actually be disappointed because the Power Up Toy product that they had beforehand wasn't fully baked. And DIYers couldn't actually see themselves on the website because all it kept saying was easy to use, easy to use. So they left the website. And in fact, when we did a post-purchase experience, basically we looked at what people were saying about the product. The hobbyist was saying it was harder than I expected. It was trickier than the video. I couldn't get it to work. My niece was disappointed, like the worst thing you'd ever want to hear. And then the DIYers were saying, it's the crashes that teach you. I kept asking myself, how far can I push this? Wow, we did this. Or we spent hours and days trying to put this together. It was brilliant. The difference in the audience is insane. But we had, we hadn't been serving any of these people. And we actually now had 2 distinct products that we could sell, one for the hobbyists and one for the DIYers. We just needed to speak their language. So this is the homepage that we created for Power Up Toys. I won't get into the full page because it would take us ages, but essentially we said, power up your ideas with one of our lightweight yet powerful propellers. Explore the limits of aerodynamics by creating unique planes that push your creativity and our propeller to the limit. Or use one of our pre-designed models to start flying with friends in minutes. Basically, we focused on their customers. We used a visual that enhanced the feeling of what they were going to see, no longer a hand holding a plane, actual copy, long form copy. Everyone's so afraid of copy, to say, hey, there's a product for each of you. And that helped us increase sales by 97% and leads by 10%. So when you're thinking about your own research, I want you to focus on a couple of different things. Number 1, identify what stage of the awareness they are in the journey. Where are they? How are they feeling? Are they ready to buy? Because that will change how you write copy. Run surveys for both your customers and your visitors. Conduct meaningful interviews. Do social listening and review mining. There's a ton of content about this at Copy Hackers from Joanna Weeb or on our website, and you can kind of dive into that. So after you've done your research, you then want to take the next step. And step number 2 is adding emotion to your copy. Now, this is super important because a lot of times I get the answer like, well, I don't have the finances or the time or the budget or anything to do a complete redesign, Talia. You're talking about like a complete different thing. So let me show you a few examples of how we just changed copy and how that made a difference. Social Media Examiner ran an event back in 2019 called Social Media Marketing World. It's one of the biggest social media marketing conferences in the world. It's been running for over a decade, and they hired us to help them increase their sales. And now this is a really hard product to sell because you're not just selling tickets for the event. You also have to convince most of the people to fly to San Diego and book a hotel. So there's a lot of expenses. And what you're seeing in front of you is the landing page. It's a blog post, and you're supposed to convert from it. So we did our research, we ran the interviews, we ran the surveys, and we understood that the people that were coming to this event, the best customers, the best attendees, were people that were really before the event that felt confused, overwhelmed, didn't know which strategy to go for. They were overwhelmed with the world changing constantly. And they really felt alone. They felt like usually they were just one person handling social media in a company, and they just felt like no one got them. Now, we couldn't make any design changes to this page, so we added more copy. Now, the original page had 3,000 words. I'm just saying that. So we added an additional section, and we basically spelt out, hey, this is who you are. This is what you want to feel. This is your desired outcome. We know this from the research. And this is our promise to you. This is why we exist. And this is what you're going to walk away from. This is how you're going to feel, including a testimonial talking about someone finding their tribe. Now, by using emotional copy, we were able to get 41% uplift in signups and almost 16% increase in sales. We did the same with teamwork. And a project management solution that, goes up against ClickUp, and Monday.com says, at last, easy to use project management software you won't outgrow. This is what everyone says, right? All the different products say the same. We did our research that was very specific to their customers, and we said, run your client work in the only platform that's actually built for it. We put in a lot more content into the bullet points themselves, and we got 7 times increase in free trials. We changed the copy. That's it. And the same goes with Wiser. Wiser is a brilliant product that allows teachers to create worksheets, creative worksheets and digital worksheets. And their original homepage said, amaze your students with smarter worksheets, create and share free interactive worksheets with your students online, join community, share your work, and explore. What happened was that during COVID, they saw a huge drop in conversions. And we basically did our research and obviously recognized that teachers were feeling overworked, exhausted, didn't want to amaze their students in any way. All they wanted to do is gain their life back. So we wrote, create unforgettable worksheets that grade themselves, win your time back, and end overwhelming and late night prep with fun, easy to make interactive worksheets that students love. Instead of making it about the students, we made it about them and what they're going to get out of it. And we got a 76% increase in new accounts. So now, great, Talia, cool. You know how to do this. You're a copywriter. Not really, but okay, great. We know that you know how to do this, Talia. Now teach us. Good. I'm going to give you 2 things today. A copywriting formula so that you know how to think about writing copy, any copy, and some headline formulas for you to just copy and paste. So the emotional copy formula, that means that if you're writing bullet points, if you're writing a headline, if you're writing an email, a subject line, I want you to think about it like this. You take the feature, the thing that you're selling the most, the thing that you want to highlight in your product or your solution, and you attach the desired outcome to it. That is your emotional centric copy. Here's an example. You take scripts for handling backtalk. So this was a parenting course that we helped. So it's an online digital course for parenting. And one of their features was basically that you get scripts for handling backtalk with your teenagers. And we asked ourselves, okay, what is the desired outcome? It's confidently and calmly handling any crisis. So instead of just writing, you get 36 scripts of handling backtalk, we wrote word for word scripts you can rely on to handle any crisis confidently, even during tantrums and stressful arguments. You take the feature you're trying to sell and you pair it with the desired outcome. Build faster landing pages. So let's say this is a landing page builder without having to rely on developers, because that's the worst. And we said, never wait around for the dev team again. Build any page in less time than it takes you to run a meeting about that page on your own. So this is just a way for you to think about copy when you approach it next time. If you're thinking about running a campaign on Facebook, or if you're writing a landing page or an email, anything, this is how I want you to think about it. Don't just say, this is what you get. Think about the why behind it. What do they get? What is the value of this feature? And here's a couple of headline formulas that you can use if you're thinking yourself, think of yourself, okay, how do I do this? So formula number 1 is get rid of frustration and pain once and for all. This is a great formula for people that are very pain aware, that have a very specific pain, they've had enough, and now you want to convince them to convert. So as an example, for an accounting software, you can say, get rid of the severe anxiety when doing your taxes once and for all. Or for a marketing reporting software, goodbye, complicated, unreadable spreadsheets. Hello, automated reporting. Or for a posture training device, which I'll tell you about in a minute, finally, eliminate back, neck, and shoulder pain once and for all. Let's talk about the next one. The only solution made exclusively to most desirable emotional outcome. Now, I just want to remind you, you know the answers to this because you did your research, right? You did your research. So solution is you, obviously. Most desirable emotional outcome, you'll know that if you do surveys, if you run interviews, okay? So here's an example. For presentation software, the only presentation software made exclusively to make you look like a pro designer. For a meal delivery service, like think HelloFresh, the only meal delivery service made exclusively to bring the most healthy and fresh food to your doorstep. Or for an Apple device membership program, the only membership program designed exclusively to help you master your iPhone and do what others can't. And I'll tell you a bit about that in a minute. And lastly, last headline formula. Now, I can't see chat right now, but you're going to get a PDF of this, so don't worry about writing it all down. Most desired result without undesirable result. Okay, so we have management skill course. Become the go-to person in the office. That's the most desired result without working yourself to the bone. Undesirable result, right? Lead gen software. Build your pipeline faster without reducing the quality of your leads. Undesirable result. Personal loans. Get a personal loans for all your financial needs without chasing your bank just to get a no. So these are just some formulas that you can use, copy and paste, use them as you go, and the original formula that I showed with you. Do everything that you need to help you with adding emotion to your copy. So at the end of the day, when you're thinking about adding emotion to your copy, you want to highlight their results, you want to focus on solving their problems, and you want to leverage copy formulas because the best copywriters in the world do, okay? Okay, let's talk about the third and final step, and that is adding emotion to your design. Copy doesn't work on its own. So copy comes first because that's the most important. You're telling the story, but every element on the page should support your copy. So how do you design for feelings? Well, number one, I want to ask, please stop following design trends, okay? Let me show you some examples. There's some software companies that just all look the same. It drives me nuts. Now, I love illustrations as a communication tool, but these are just random and they offer no significance or value to prospects. Now, as humans, we tend to fall into this trap where we copy each other's work because we think our competitors know what they're doing, but most often they're just copying their competitors and so on. So I want you to think about, instead of copying or trying to be like everyone else, which is really a trap we all fall into, I want you to use design to enhance your emotional message. And I'll show you some examples, okay? Now, this means that you look at your copy, you look at your message, and okay, what am I trying to say? How can I elevate that with my visuals? So here is the posture training product I kind of spoke about before. Upright is this amazing product. I'm not an affiliate. I just love their product. It sits on your back and it helps you improve your posture. Now, if any of you are like me sitting in front of your computer for hours, you know the stress of back pain and neck pain and all that stuff. So they solve it. Basically, you place it on your back and whenever you slouch, it vibrates and it lifts you up. It works like a charm. It's amazing. So Upright hired us a couple of years ago to start working with them on increasing revenue. Now, we did our research. Now, look at this was their homepage, what you're seeing on your screen right now. Get the healthy posture you've always wanted. Okay. Get Upright to improve your posture. That is cut because it was like a moving thing. Improve your posture, improve your health, improve your whatever. So the screenshot is not as good. But this was kind of what they had. And what we found out when we did our research was that we had 3 types of pains. I'm less about personas and more about the different pains that are driving people to your solution, to your software, or to your product. So there were 3 pains. Number 1 was the sedentary, which is what I was telling you about. It's a person who sits in front of their computer all day, like myself, working, and they're starting to get a bad posture as a result, a little neck pain and back pain. Then there's the people that really care about the way they look. They're like super aware of their aesthetics. And they started to notice in different pictures that they're slouching, or their parents or their friends keep telling them to like stand up straight because people are constantly like commenting about their appearance. And the third people are really health conscious people. These are the people that actually suffer from like chronic pain. They've tried everything, all the braces, all the different things that are terrible for your like improving your posture, and they just need a solution. So there's 3 different people that are coming, or 3 different types of pains that are driving people to the website. We're not seeing them anywhere here. Now, one other thing that we discovered, which was super critical, was that everyone we spoke to when we interviewed really, really cared about their posture, but constantly forgot to actually deal with it. And what that meant is they would start the day out by like, okay, today I'm going to sit up straight. I'm going to do it. It's going to be great. And then they're like, as the day progresses, they just kind of forget, because that's what everyone does. So this was a critical thing to mention, because we didn't want people thinking that this is something they would have to work hard for, because they're already doing enough hard work in their lives. So this is the homepage we created for them. This is desktop and this is mobile. And it says, Meet Upright, the simplest way to transform your posture, helping 750,000 people sit, stand, and feel better every day. And we immediately address the elephant in the room. Your poor posture isn't your fault, but there is something you can do about it. You slouch because you forget to. We all do. Upright makes remembering easy by gently reminding you every time you stay bent over for too long. It makes sitting and standing better, unbelievably easy. So what I want to talk about is actually the design, right? We're talking about actually showing someone sitting, someone who you can understand, oh, I get what's happening here. Like, I understand. I can see the product. I understand. It's not just a half body. Let me just show you. Go back to this. It's not just a half body. It's not just, a back of someone. You're actually seeing someone in their surroundings. This helps us increase transactions by 33% and revenue by 25%. Then we went to the product pages. This is desktop and this is mobile. And essentially what it says here is the world's #1 posture trainer, which I love, as I told you at the beginning. And there's like Valentine's Day special and bestseller and all this great stuff. But essentially what we did is we created this product page and we said, transform your posture, eliminate pain, and build healthy habits that last. And under that, we have all the features that they get and why it's going to work best for them. We got a 27% increase in transaction and 10% in average order value. Over here, we have Master Your iPhone. This is a membership program for boomers, people that want to learn more about how to use their Apple devices. And we essentially paired the copy with someone that they can relate to. Someone that looks like them, someone that they maybe aspire to look like a little, and they can relate to. So we went from, here's our product, which is what most people do. They have a picture of the product right front and center, or a video, and we put a person they can relate to in front of them. And we got a 21% increase in sales. Okay, so let's talk about adding emotion to your design. There are a couple of things you need to do. Add images that support and enhance your message. So try and stay clear from just images of your product. I'm not saying they don't matter. They do, but you can do that lower on the page. Start with lifestyle. Ensure emotion is consistent throughout the entire page and the customer journey, and don't blindly follow design trends or copy competitors. Finally, I have a pre-flight checklist before you launch any landing page, email, website, or Facebook campaign. Are you making it about yourself or the prospect? Can people feel and see the emotional outcomes of desire? Are you using emotion in both your copy and your visuals? And can people immediately see the why? That brings us back to where we were at the beginning. Can people see what's in it for them? Because ultimately, we need to start asking ourselves, what is our goal? And we need to start asking, what is my customer's goal? Because only when your customers achieve their goal will you achieve your own, as Brian Eisenberg says. That's it for me today. Thank you very much. Hopefully this was interesting and actionable. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And stop sharing. Okay.
Amazing. I love the energy. It's just afternoon for me. I needed that jolt of energy. So really appreciate all that. I'm willing to bet that a lot of folks have websites with those broad cliches and they're like, we need to change that now. I'm thinking about that website, and I have a pen in my hand because I was taking notes about like action items that I have. So thanks so much for teaching us those frameworks. And I'm excited to get those formulas.
I love how you were like, did anyone else just like improve their posture just now? Because like, as I talk about it, I'm like, yes, let me just kind of improve my posture.
Yeah, well, I'm at a standing desk, and even immediately I was like, oh, gotta fix like standing, but still gotta fix my posture. So we have a question from Pamela, and for anyone else who has questions, please drop them in the chat here. So Pamela asks, I work in financial services and the SEC does not allow us to make promises. That makes sense. So for example, we can't use the word best or promise our clients will become wealthy. So how can Pamela and her team handle headlines in that sort of instance?
It's a great question. I've actually had quite a lot of experience with financial companies and personal loan companies and banks. And from my experience, the way you want to tackle it is you're not trying to promise like an outcome. And the outcome isn't that you're going to get rich, right? For most people with personal like finances, it's about peace of mind. It's about feeling that you are in good hands. It's about feeling that you're choosing the right company. There's a lot of different things that are about security. And I think what matters ultimately is that you are speaking to them about their pains. And sorry, I get pop-ups and I'm like, wait. No, it's okay. That you're speaking to them about the pain that's driving them there today, and you're talking about how they're going to feel. I'm less inclined to say the best, or you're going to be wealthy, or you're going to get that car you dreamed of. But the idea of just talking about lightening that burden and anxiety can be a big shift for people. And I think just speaking to your customers will help clarify that too.
Yeah, Pamela, I'll even speak to you as someone within your target audience. I have hired a financial advisor before, and it was all about, look, I'm just stressed out and I need someone to help me think through these issues because I don't want to think through it alone, right? Like money is a very sensitive thing. Very few of us go through like actual certifications to know how to do it well. So what Talia is saying all like rung true with me just now. So maybe that's some live user research for you. I did have a question for you, Talia. So the thing I think a lot of folks, at least from listening to Elsa's presentation yesterday, is like lots of folks have challenges running user research and like doing that well. It takes a lot of skill and experience to dig in deep. So what are the challenges that you've run into in your career of like trying to understand a desired outcome? And I'm thinking about situations where maybe a customer does only have that superficial answer, and they're like, actually, I don't know. Like, you keep asking why, I don't know. So what are the challenges there, and how did you get around those?
Yeah, I think there's two kind of components to that, because we're always, when asked questions, we're also going to try to immediately rationalize our decisions. So I'll jump immediately into like how to get over it, just because I think it will help everyone in the room, is that there's two pieces to it. One is that you want to collect as much feedback as possible and not just rely on one person. So even if you're just getting started and you have 3 clients, your service provider, or you have 3 customers, make sure to talk to all of those. But which is like the second component, is don't just rely on surveys and interviews, but dig deeper. And there are many, many ways you can do customer research that don't include talking to your customers. And this is important because if you're just getting started and you don't have anyone, you need that. But also because the idea ultimately is, even if you have hundreds and hundreds of replies in your customer survey, you're looking for repeating themes, right? Like you're looking for, okay, this pain is mentioned multiple times. This outcome is mentioned multiple times. Now I'm going to go and do some social listening. Social listening, and I mentioned this in like the first part, is when you go into communities on Facebook and on Reddit and LinkedIn, and where your customers and prospects are, and you look at the conversations that these people are having. And you're trying to identify what are the pains that they're talking about, and what are the desired outcomes that they're looking out for, and what are the things that pain them, and so on. So really, you're looking for additional context, and you're trying to see if this is also mentioned in other places. And you can do that also with review mining. Review mining is an amazing technique that I learned from Joanna Wiebe on how to go to Amazon, essentially, and look for books that solve what you do. So if you're a consultant, or if you have a product, or like a commodity, or if you are a service provider, or if you have a software, whatever pain you're trying to solve, there's definitely a book about it. Someone tried to write a book about how to do your own accounting without FreshBooks, or someone wrote a book about how to garden and be your own gardener, or grow your own plants and whatever. What you want to do there is comb through all the reviews this book is getting and see what people are complaining about that isn't actionable enough, didn't help them, was missing, didn't make sense, annoyed them, or wow, this was mind-blowing, this was great, wow, this was the best thing about the book. Because that helps you fill in the different gaps of what your prospects that could be buying from you, that are just reading a book about it right now, what you could say on your website, what you could complete, what pains people are struggling with. And ultimately, sorry, this is a really long answer, but ultimately, you're just going to get the replies of all of that and put it all together. You're not just relying on customer surveys. You're not just relying on interviews. You want to have the full picture.
I love it. And one thing I'll add to that is I think a lot of folks joining us are at software companies. G2.com is an amazing resource for competitive research too. You'll see people complaining about your competitors, and you can use that to inform your copy too. So wanted to add that little tidbit for folks who are in software. All right. So one question I did have is, for some of these talks, I think you threw a lot at us, and it's tough to, do I just go start testing my homepage headline now? I imagine maybe not, like pump the brakes a little bit. What would be the next step you recommend to folks, maybe in the next, like today, that they can start doing? Is it like starting with research? What would you recommend for folks who just want to get that foundation started and build some momentum?
Yeah, I think definitely research is the first thing I would do. You can use the headlines, and if you're like, I really want to test these, I would test them on email, because I think that's the quickest way to get feedback. Like, I love testing messaging and ideas in email, because it's a quick answer and you can like really quickly test stuff. Also, you can do the same with Facebook ads. So if you want to try the different formulas, I do it there, unless you have an insane amount of traffic and you can test it right now on your homepage. It's usually better to do like email and Facebook ads. But the first thing I would do is research. I think if you're able to send out a customer survey, that's the number one thing I would do. If you can reach out to people for interviews, I would definitely do that. If you don't have enough customers to do research, like to do surveys and interviews with, I'd use something like Playbook UX to run some research. And if you don't want to do that, then I would do review mining and social listening. That would be kind of where I start. I can't hear you because you're on mute.
Sorry, I was just saying I have not heard of Playbook UX, so just went on the
Wow.
website now and bookmarking that. Thank you. Just to call out some feedback for you, Dennis said that this is the best online seminar ever. So I don't know if you want to put that on your resume or on your website.
Definitely. I'm screenshotting that. Thanks, Dennis.
Yeah. It's amazing. Well, Talia, thank you so much for taking the time to teach us all your frameworks and being so generous with your knowledge and wisdom. For folks who want to continue learning from Talia, go ahead and check out GetUplift.co. You can get all the huge guides and resources there as well. And then up next, in 15 minutes, we have entertainment for the day. It's going to be Cousin Curtis and Harrison B. So stick around for that. Take a break from work. It's going to be a 30-minute show. So stick around and we'll see you in a bit. Thank you, Talia.
Thank you.